Well, good morning, folks. I just want to talk about CPS and DHR in this country. I mean, people keep on, just ignoring what so many parents are going through. Our children are being taken without, first of all, in an illegal manner, and the lawyers are not interested in fighting CPS. They're just not. Because the lawyers know that the parents can turn around and sue DHR. But in order to sue DHR, something bad has had to happen. This is my opinion from what I experienced in Mobile. From the moment my son was taken, I went to see an attorney. I was working, I went to see an attorney, and I was told that I should have come sooner. And I came to this attorney as soon as it happened, as soon as I possibly could. I was told by church people and Christian people that I needed to take down what I was posting about what was happening, and I'm just like in disbelief that these people could be so narrow-minded and actually tell me that I don't have a right to write and I don't have a right to speak. And I thought, how hypocritical. This is not Christianity, and this is certainly not an American way of thinking. But this happened, and it happened, and if it hadn't happened, I would have had my son back already. This is actually happening in America by American people. People who believe that the best way to go about business is just to look away. That's called desensitized. I actually read and I take it to heart. I read things and I take it to heart. I don't like to watch too much TV. This is not anything that's being sensationalized. But when I do watch TV, if I'm in control of the television, I like to watch something that will teach me something, or something that's funny for therapeutic purposes. So comedy, entertainment can be entertaining, but it doesn't have to be violence and sex, because what does that do to the mind? I used to like watching programs like Alaskan People, and I just found out that the family head passed away, and it was just such a wonderful, wholesome program that taught you real life, situations. This is real life in Alaska from a very humble family. I've never desired to have a mansion and have a lot of money and have expensive cars and, lots of, excess. I've always desired to please God, and I know that I do things that are not Christian-like, but God knows my situation. God puts me in those situations, and God takes me out of those situations. You're not my judge. God has put me out there in the street to be a homeless veteran so that I would understand. This is the only country that I know of that actually allows everybody and their brother to come in here and not prioritizes their own poor, their own veterans. This is the only country that I know of that is violating human rights in your face. I can understand if we were in another country where they don't mask what they're doing. They'll tell you in your face, this is how we are. But not America. America has it printed on our currency that in God we trust. We have a constitution. In our First Amendment. And I was being told by these so-called Christian people that, they want you to humble yourself. But if God made me the way I am, and I've seen these women, they're not humble. They're bragging about what they have and the fact that they don't have to go to work for a living. I mean, they may not brag about it in your face, but they do. I don't have a husband to support me. I have had to work, and when I couldn't work, I was pinching my pennies, pawning my jewelry. I've had to sell my car several times to be able to pay rent. I just don't condone our country writing people left and right at work and at schools. Because what that does is it sucks the life out of people. People don't want to go to school that way. People don't want to go to work that way. I mean, for petty stuff. It's like when they find somebody that they want to take out, they know exactly where they work, when they work, and everything's already been prepaid for. It's like we're just numbers. And I question, who the hell is running this country? Because it certainly isn't God. God is not running this country. Do you think God is running this country? God will run this country when you let God run the country. God is sick and tired of talking to Israel. And I'm not talking about the country Israel. I'm talking about Israel, the people of God. He has been sick and tired of talking like the land of your inheritance, the land of your inheritance. We've already been forgiven. We've already been lifted. But it will not manifest itself until we see it. You have to believe it. I look up to heaven all the time. I see our blueprint. I know what it's supposed to look like down here. It is a mirror image. The closer we draw to God, the closer He draws to us. The further we're from God, the further He is from us. Folks, in the mirror, face to face, our CPS and DHR is being ran, and the whole structure is lack of structure is what it is. This thing is just like a bad thing put together and just ran down to the ground.
When I first arrived in Mobile, I arrived pregnant with Alexander because Alexander's father brought me to Mobile, but he didn't stay in Mobile long. He got a job in Texas because his job in Mobile ran out. He was working for a flooring company. I was taken to Mobile by his brother, who lives in Mississippi, to translate between Portuguese and English, but these people speak English. They know how to speak. They know how to make money in this country, whether they came here legally or illegally. But I went because I was woken up at 7 o'clock one day, and we were supposed to be out the door in 45 minutes and on our way to Mobile. And I translated for the brothers in the company, the flooring company. And the topic was that as long as they had a tax ID working directly for the company, whomever the person with tax ID subcontracted was none of the owner of the business, none of his business, basically. So, me personally, if I'm running a business, I'm not going to allow people working in my business that I don't even know. I need to be able to interview, or whomever works with me who's been delegated that responsibility. I mean, when I worked for Dr. Duffy in the medical field back in my early 20s, I was given that responsibility because I could handle it. It was a lot of work because I didn't have the staff under me. But I did have the responsibility of training somebody to take over my position. And I trained her very well. I took training courses on how to train people. I took courses on how about equal opportunity. So nobody can say that I'm a racist against the Hispanic people or against, no, I'm sick and tired of that. Why should I be limiting myself to just working with Hispanics? This is the problem when people limit themselves. Well, I'm just going to work with black people. I'm just going to work with Hispanic people. We are the human race. But it is the truth that our Dr. Martin Luther King was murdered by our very government because of what he was putting forth, what we needed. He will always be what we need. And he spoke with such grace and power, kind power in his voice. He was gifted by God so gracefully, and he performed so well under pressure. Me? You push the right combination of buttons, and you will see another side of me. I have no shame in saying that. I was not blessed with that gift that Dr. Martin Luther King was blessed with. But I have seen Dr. Martin Luther King. It took years. I could feel his echo. And he could foresee black Afro-Americans continue to live in poverty because of how our government was misutilizing our taxpayers' money. And he felt that injustice anywhere is injustice somewhere, is anywhere is injustice. And it will ultimately affect us. Because what is happening is when everybody and their brother is denied their God-given right in their own nations, they'll flee to America. They'll come here. And it's like any person or any animal that has babies, you cannot have more babies than you can handle. God is not going to put any more babies in that womb, whether it's a cat or a dog or a human being. God is not going to put any more babies in that womb than that mom can handle. And when those babies are born, the mom has the right amount of milk. And I was being criticized for not going back to work by my own members of my own family. As soon as I delivered Alexander, I had had a C-section. And you know how when women give birth, some of them can go back to work right away and some of them can't? We live in a very cold society where, you know, not everybody is made the same, put together the same. Not everybody's put together the same. But I went to Walmart and was pushing a cart and pulling a cart like 5 days postpartum. Some of these men that we have nowadays are not well put together. They're not equipped. They expect a woman with breast and a womb to go out there and be a man too, and bring bread home and be a whore at home and be the housekeeper while they just sit back. You have no idea how many men are like this. They want the woman to be sexy. They want the woman to be sexual. They want the woman to give it to them whenever they want, whether they're satisfying their woman or not. They want the woman to keep a house clean, because if they don't clean it, it ain't gonna get done. Unless the woman says, well, forget it. You know, I'd rather be a single mom than be with a man like that. People need to understand my point of view. People don't own people. God is a God of freedom. But a mother's children is a mother's children. When God says, come out of your mother's dark room and into my light, doesn't mean separation of mother and child. You idiots. What DHR and CPS is doing is a very crooked organization. They switch these caseworkers around. They lie in court because that's what they're getting paid to do, to lie in court. I mean, everybody knows it already. You've got to be blind not to know that that's what's happening. So it is a ghetto, rundown system. And it's not ran by a certain race. It is America. This is the only country that I know of, from my readings and my watching documentaries, that I know of, that lets everybody and their brother here, legally and illegally, and takes away from their own citizens. In Mobile, I had to be on the other end of hearing people complain, make negative remarks about Black Afro-Americans. People from Ecuador who wanted to work so their wives could stay home while sending me to work as a housekeeper, cleaning lady for the airplanes, people who build airplanes. And I'm just like, look, I served in the military. I was honorably discharged. I came in here legally. I was a clinic manager. I wanted to continue my education in culinary nutrition. I already paid into my GI Bill. I didn't need to be listening to this crap. But believe it or not, people, I had to be on the receiving end of that. It's like a slap in the face. And several of the Hispanic community were talking negatively about the Black Afro-Americans, even people of mixed race. There's hypocrisy among us in so-called Christianity. When I first set foot in Mobile, pregnant with Alexander, I went to a women's resources place right down the street from Sage Avenue, because I wanted to have an ultrasound. I was not getting a job, and I could just foresee, the urgency to go ahead and get an ultrasound just to make sure the baby was growing well and where he was supposed to be in my womb. So I was like, I'm not getting a job. The Medicaid, they messed up my paperwork and were fiddle-farting with that for a while. So, it's like a struggle. Everything was a struggle in Mobile. I should have never been treated like that. Everything was a struggle. When I went to get a job at a agency, I was being told that my resume was too long. And I said, well, if I make it any smaller to fit on one page, it's going to be a smaller font. And that's not what's recommended. That doesn't look professional. All kinds of baloney. Then I was invited to a church for a ladies' conference. And I saw this lady in a wheelchair who later, I did not know that she had had a miracle. She was walking and all of that. But she was walking, she had physical therapy. I know that God worked his hand on that, but there's no need to be charging people money to come see a miracle. That's just not right. And you shouldn't be having all these cameras, and everybody and their brother, oh, look at this miracle, when you've been having physical therapy. That's the hypocrisy. Say it. I prayed to God to heal me, to get me out of this wheelchair. I prayed to God, and he gave me the strength to continue my physical therapy, and I got on my feet because my God is with me. Say it like that, but don't have all kinds of fancy cameras and lighting and special angles to go see for somebody else to be the miracle worker. This is just a bunch of baloney. It's a hypocrisy. Now remember meeting a Brazilian lady in one of these Sage Avenue Baptist Church, and also connected with the ladies' tea. And she told me, she said, oh, we belong to the Goody Goody Girl Club. And I said, well, I want to join the Goody Goody Girl Club. I'm here to join. I don't want to be left out. I need to get connected here. What do you think? And I met her at the Women's Resources. Her and Ina from Peru, who came from Miami. And I was told that because I said I need an ultrasound because I'm not getting my Medicaid hasn't come through. I don't have a job. I need to make sure the baby's doing well. And the two of them met and they worked together. And they were like, well, we have a program called Safe Alive. I didn't know what the heck they were talking about. And they were like, well, you know, in order for us to get you services, we've got to, you know, do this. Okay? I was like, well, I'm not here because I want to abort my baby and you're trying to convince me not to abort my baby. I'm here to make sure that he's doing well, he or she, and get an ultrasound. So they got me assistance to talk to a manager with the apartment complex at the Carriage Inn apartment complex. So it was all like walking distance. So I was like, okay, whatever. Then when I tried to get a job at that center, the person in charge of that center, Suzanne, and I'm not kidding, her name was Suzanne. She said to me, well, we don't want unmarried women representing the center, so no, you cannot work here. That's exactly what she told me, that because I was not a married woman, that I couldn't have a job. And then I told this to Ina, and she said, oh no, I was there, no, I don't believe, that's not how she meant it. Well, a few months later, Ina herself was being told by this very Suzanne that she couldn't pray with the ladies because Ina was a praying woman and was in charge of the Baptist Church Hispanic ministry, and she was told that she couldn't pray at the women's resources with her group. And so, because Ina had a praying group independently at her house at the Carriage Inn Apartments, which I was part of. I am a praying woman. I am a praying woman. I'm a faithful woman. I don't need all this flash and monies coming at me and saying, woo, praise the Lord, hallelujah. No, you do it at home. You go out there and you preach the word of God. You don't need to be having all kinds of fancies. That's ridiculous. And so I thought that was very hypocritical because this is a resources place that's supposed to be helping people in need. And if I needed a job and they had a job available, why not? I have experience in the medical field and with women's services. And she said, but because I wasn't married. I thought, how hypocritical. And Ina herself took me around to the different doctor's offices to get a job because I needed a job during the day. And I was doing it before I started to show so that I wouldn't be denied a job, because who wants to hire a pregnant woman just to have to pay her postpartum leave or whatever? And when I was doing my research, continuing my research that I had already started back in the early 2000s, these people were there studying and stealing my stuff. They can steal your handwriting if you let them. They can steal your life. They can steal your children, your identity. They can turn around and say you're something you're not. And what you are, they'll take it away. That's why I couldn't find a job. And I went to the Career Center. And I went to a homelessness prevention program. All kinds of things I had to go through. Alexander's father was not there. He was working in Texas. And his family on his father's side was not there for me or Alexander. Ever. My family was not there for me. Ever. One thing is, I did go to see my brother in Virginia on my way to pick up Alexander. because Alexander was in Virginia for a while due to unemployment. And when I asked my mother if I could come stay in Virginia, she said no. She was living with her boyfriend. She was trying to live her life. So I had no choice but to stay with my boyfriend and live my life until I got a job. And the jobs that I was offered were part-time, minimum wage. Jobs that I was well overqualified for. That's how I was treated in Mobile. There was no need for that. That's the work of the devil. And at this, during all of this, the Brazilian lady that got me into the the women's resources, she's from Brazil. She was going through a divorce. Her husband didn't want to give her her papers. So she fought and fought, got a lawyer, and got her right. Her rights were not violated. She got her papers and her legal right to work in this country. And she was working with the university, with USA. She was doing work with when people pretend to be sick, and then the doctors who are practicing the residency or medical students have to do a diagnosis. So she would do her makeup and all of that for that. She turned around, married somebody much younger. Her daughter was in Brazil. Nobody criticizes any of this. But when I'm struggling and I'm like, excuse me, I need help, ladies, then it's like, oh, you don't have the same standards as we do. I'm not a drug addict, never have been. But if somebody is a drug addict or has been, they have every right to not do it anymore. And nobody has the right to say, well, I'm not going to give you a job because you were a drug addict 3 years ago. Nobody has the right to do that. Nobody has the right to deny you a job for something you did in the past that doesn't apply to you anymore. I didn't need anybody to clean my record or expunge my record. I didn't need to worry about my legal right to work here. I have my own suffering. I'm not going to expect y'all to suffer my sufferings. The last time I went to this ladies' tea, I was living with Miss Miller, and she knew I was working full time. I offered her money to live in her place, and she had a 2-bedroom in my own kitchen and the bathroom, and everything was like a tiny little house underneath her house. She's a Christian lady in Mobile. And she was one of them advising me not to post with my freedom of speech. She said, well, what you're seeing about DHR and corruption, that doesn't apply to you. It's like, the hell it does. These people violated my rights. They picked up my son from school without a court order, based on allegations. They weren't even able to prove the allegations. It was even irrelevant because none of that was brought up in court to begin with. What was brought up were irrelevant things from my past. When people are studying you, they can steal your work and discredit you
and leave you out of your house without your child? In America, among Christians. Unbelievable. I report something. When I see it, I report it. As I was seeing this disorganization, I reported it. I don't put up with that. When I was living with Miss Miller, I said, I'm working. And she said, no, just save so you can get your own apartment. I got my own apartment. My son was supposed to be returned to me because supposedly that's what it was, that I didn't have stability. People have a right to move to another state, another city, another town to work. But when they have your kid, you can't. So you've got to settle for whatever they give you. Settle. So I did. And I was working. And I just needed my son returned to me so I could move where I could make better money. Because I have a standard of living. I don't want to be living off the government. Isn't this why everybody and their brother comes to America? So that they can have a better quality of life? Because for as intelligent as they may be, they're not able to work in their countries. So they move here. Legally and illegally. I didn't sign up for a pony show ever. I didn't sign up for a study where people were going to be studying me and my son. That, to my knowledge, not in Mobile, not anywhere. If I want to put on a show, I'll put on a cooking show. I'll teach you how to make rice and pasta and about spices and mixing it up. I mean, you don't even need to learn that from me. You already know how to cook. There's cooking shows. But if I was going to put on a show, it would be a cooking show and not a show about my personal life. But if I must, so when I went to this ladies' tea get-together that they had every now and then, every once a month, Miss Miller, I was living with her at the time, she said, I want everybody to write their testimony. Well, they didn't let me speak. And I brought up the fact that maybe the Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians get together, and talk it out. And I was told that those Muslim people are not good. Then I befriended a Muslim lady who said those Jews are not good. You see how there's animosity among you. See, growing up, I had friends of all races. My friends were always, they were black, Hindu, Asian, Hispanic, Caucasian, every time. this backwardness in here, unbelievable. It's like God, you know what it's like to be painting with words? It's very easy, okay? The air is clean. The water is clean. The earth is clean. And everything that grows from the earth is clean. Without pesticides, without hormones, without antibiotics, everything that grazes from the pasture, that grows from the earth, is clean. The fish that we consume are clean because their environment is clean. The birds that we eat are clean because their environment is clean. What part of that did you not understand? God speaks to us with clear words. He has given us our blueprint. And I'm not here to be posing sexy, okay? I already know that. I'm 47 years old. I didn't do that when I was in my 20s, much less now. I'm not going to be going, this is ridiculous. I've never advertised myself as something I'm not. When I say I'm this, it's because I am. When I say I'm not, it's because I'm not. I don't have a problem with homosexuals, but I am not a homosexual. Never desired to be. If somebody's a homosexual, I'm happy for them because they know who they are. That's the way God made them. Or maybe that's the way it just so happened. But you know, I'm not their judge. God says love one another. Let me judge. I tell my son Alexander, don't do certain things. It's because I don't want to instill things in my child. When he grows up and decides, hey, moms know their children. Moms know their children. If a child is gay, moms know. But I don't want somebody confused. No. You're either this or you're that. Don't be confused. Because confusion is not of God. I can understand if they're confused because you're not around. But when you're around, you won't confuse them. I grew up with my cousin. He was gay. And before he was gay, before he was always gay. Okay? When my cousin told me he was gay, I said, I already know that. I've always known that. I love you. I've always known that. I was not surprised in the least. But it took him that long for him to know that. But I already knew, and I'm not much older than he. His mom knew, and she had a talk with us. She's like, well, we're kind of observing him. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way God made him. Same thing with little girls, I'm sure. I was a tomboy, but I was not gay. I was very tomboyish. Because I didn't want to be behind. I didn't want to be bullied by boys. I did not want to be less. That's why. I wanted to be riding my bike and be one of the boys because I didn't want to be behind. You know, that's what it's about. Women and men were created in the image of God. You cannot say that God is this and God is that. God says don't do that. But then in the Bible it says that God is a consuming fire. We have been lifted. Believe in me when I say it. I don't need everybody and their brother to hear my testimony about with lights and all kinds of monies coming at me because I'm testifying about the Word of God. I'll say it. I'll put it out there. You can listen or not, but I'm not going to charge you for it. But I do need to make a living. I don't want anybody to tell me that get an effing job. You know, that's degrading. When I came here, I applied for jobs. We cannot say that I didn't try. But I'm not can be working with a mask. I can't do it. For the same thing, I'm not a surgeon. When I had a back injury, my father said lay on the ground with 2 weights that had a flat surface. He said, put this there, put that. I mean, Father tells me. He said, lay down. And he told me exactly how much weight to apply, to release onto the weights. And then it fixed my kink in my back. I couldn't have done it without instructions. When my father told me, lay down, calm down, open up your airway, when I lived with Mr. and Mrs. Miller in early 2018, I did as my father told me to do. And I started seeing these little flashes of light. I could have been irradiated, I don't know. But you know what? What I saw was real. What I saw with my spiritual eyes, because I was not asleep and I was not able to move other than doing exactly what I was told. Lay down, calm down. No, you're not going to have a heart attack. Calm yourself down. Open up your airway. And then when I started seeing the little flashes of light, and I saw the light that I had seen before, when we were lifted up into the right and his opening opened up, that brightness of bright. When I saw that brightness of bright, that's when I declared in el nombre de Jesús Cristo, this force pulled the truth out of me. And I declared, but I didn't know what I was going to declare. I had no idea what was going to happen. So I believe in what I've seen, and I believe in what I haven't seen. When we went in and into the light, that's all that I saw. That's all that I saw. I didn't see anything else. But all I know is that we're going to come back down and deliver with what we have been given. Deliver what we have been given. Because we have received more for our less. And I know that there's a lot of corruption in this adoption industry. I know it. If I had not been able to have my own children, I would have adopted my children. I would have adopted. But I would not be adopting children from an organization that is doing it in corrupt ways. Taking children away from parents and then waiting it out so that the parents and the children have that separation time, so that the detachment before they put them up for adoption. This is how these people have been doing it. When they remove kids from their parents in Latin America, they wait a few days to starve that baby so that the adoptive parent doesn't feel that they're, guilt. They feel that they're rescuing this baby from malnourishment. So, this is what's really happening. These kids are being picked up and placed in foster care and moved around to desensitize the kids. So the kids lose trust. And what that does is damaging psychologically. so that their psychologists can fix them. You see how corrupt this is? That's why these lawyers don't want to get involved in that kind of stuff, because they already know how this business operates. They don't want to be disbarred, because they want to collect a paycheck. I want to know where the men are, you know? And then some men think that, okay, that lady is sexually frustrated. I've had people tell me that. Not people, but I've had people assume that because I'm upset about what is happening, that I'm sexually frustrated, that I need sex. People don't understand what true love is anymore. There's a coldness in America. And not only a coldness, but there's a deprivation. That there are people who think that they can just come and go with random people and have no attachment. And that's all it is for them. That's the way a lot of younger men and women, okay, are operating. And I've always wanted a home. I just want to be able to provide for my son. I didn't invite everybody and their brother in my house because there's a danger in that. If I want to talk about the Word of God, I will put it out there. I will write. I will speak. No need for people to be coming into my house, because you know there's a danger. You've got a child. There's a lot of child pornography and people stealing children, organ harvesting. I don't trust any of you. So our Father's been painting the picture so that we can see it. And then people are still talking about, oh, well, one day. It's like, one day's today. One day is today. What you do today can affect us 1,000 years from now. What you do or not do. That's why I know that I'm not the only one making phone calls about the quality of our food. I'm not the only one. But I'm doing my job. Because one more person that does it is one more person. And it adds up. And it makes a difference. I cannot go back in time to my youth to start eating this way. But I can do it today. I know that I have bad habits. I chew on gum. I drink coffee. I know I need to exercise. I know some people say, no, that cardio is not good for you. It's like baloney. Baloney. Cardio is good for the heart. That's what they call it, cardio. I'm not here to be buffed up and be in a bikini. It's like, I'm 47 years old. If I didn't do that in my 20s, I'm not going to do it now. If God has blessed me with breasts and a ratio of hips to chest, that's God's wants me the way He wants me to do my job. I don't have had not plastic surgery. I wear my boots. I've got ugly toes. I've got an ugly butt. I don't care what you think about my fundamental butt. I sit on my butt a lot and I read. Nobody can say that I cannot focus on what I'm reading. I get right down to the conclusion sometimes because I don't have time to read every single thing or every single word. So if something pops out at me, I'll go down to the conclusion and then I'll work my way up the article from the bottom up. But I get to the conclusion so I know if it's worth reading or not, if it's what I'm looking for. Not that anything that's been put out there is not worth reading, but my job is my job. whether I get paid or not. Our country should not be prioritizing everybody and their brother, neglecting the needs of their own poor. And it's not just black and white anymore. It's the poor. Whether they're Hispanic or Asian or black or white. And just because somebody is proud to be white does not make them a racist. Just like if somebody's proud to be Asian or proud to be Hispanic or proud to be black does not make them racist. Or proud to be Native American. So we need to recognize that being white is their God-given right to say, I'm white. That doesn't make them a racist. So we've got to not be so sensitive here. Understand that God made us all colors. And most people, not all, but most people are mixed. They look black, but they have white. They look white, they have black, or they have some other ancestry. Who cares? I mean, they're mostly black, or they're mostly white, or they're mostly Asian. If they want to identify with that, let them. There are people that are half and half. One day my hair is this color, one day is that color, one day is this texture, one day is that texture. I already know that. I just go with it. As long as I can control half of it. And you ask me what race I am, I was brought up that I was white. My mom said I was Italian and English and Spanish and all kinds of things, and I started doing my own research, and no, it's like I have Italian in me very far back. I have Irish in me. She herself is half Irish, and her Irish ancestry goes all the way back. So it's like pure Irish on her father's side. And then her mom, my grandmother, you can tell that she's Asian and Native and white and different races in her. My grandmother looked Asian and she was young. I look Asian sometimes. I look half black sometimes. I look half this and half, I look half Vietnamese. Or I look Filipino for sure. I definitely look Filipino. But people ask me, are you from Philippines? It's like, no. But that doesn't mean that I'm, but whatever. I'm from Panama, but I'm American. I'm from the American continent. And I'm not going to have anybody take my kid away from me because of some contract. Because my son does not belong to any government. My son does not belong to the American government to be selling it to the Brazilian government. Or vice versa. My son is not a prisoner of war that you need to negotiate with. I'm not a prisoner that you need to be negotiating my children with anyone. Without my being there on the table while you're negotiating. My life has meaning when I have something to do with my son. Play hide and seek, go to the park, be there for his after school activities, his soccer, his whatever, baseball, basketball. My son chose to play these sports. Okay? He was playing flag football but didn't care much for football. That was his choice. I'm not anti-football, but football is not God, folks. Football is football, and it's entertaining. But just like with anything, we cannot prioritize something over God. God has been painting with his words. He created this earth with his words. We were made in the image of God. We were lifted, forgiven. We went into he, and he into us simultaneously for us to receive more for our less. To come back down and deliver. And we will speak. This is our blueprint. This is how we need to be doing this. Let us use our math and science and calculate this, how we're going to clean the air and the water and the land. And we're going to use our math and science for social engineering. About how we're going to clean up this filth we've created as a humanity. My goal in life is not to be attracting men. My goal in life is not to be putting my genitals out there on the World Wide Web to see who wants to sleep with me. That's insanity. You have to understand, so just because somebody takes your image and does whatever they want with your image doesn't make it true. Especially if you don't know what the heck is going on. Because you're not associated with such things, or you're not interested in such things, or you're not focused or study such things. You cannot say that somebody's dumb. You cannot say somebody's blind because they don't know what's going on in the world. I am focused on what God has put before me. And I don't want to be talking bad about people. I don't want to be talking about people whom I have lived with, who have opened their homes for me. You know, like Miss Diane Miller. But I was very upset because my son was not returned to me. And this is supposed to be, you know, this wholesome family. And she grew up in an Amish community, and I wanted to learn, you know, a little bit more about that culture. I think it's a beautiful thing that you can have Mennonites and Amish, you know, kind of doing a 180 from what we're doing today, which is very wholesome, actually. But the Millers left that culture because they didn't like it. They wanted to be in the world. I am the opposite. I was given all kinds of freedom growing up. Freedom to choose my religion or no religion, or freedom to believe in God or not. Freedom to... My mom wanted me to wear makeup and dresses and be sexual, even in my teens. And I always felt dirty to be sexual at 14 or 12 or 13. I just felt that was not the right time. So when I was sexual in my 30s or late 20s, in my 30s, then I had all kinds of people thinking I'm the biblical whore. It's like, no, folks, there's a right time. It's like if that's when I was a late bloomer, that's when I bloomed, that's what happened? But then I had people trying to take advantage of that situation. I wanted to get the heck out of there to continue my education in culinary nutrition, to come back and open up my restaurant. I didn't want to be exploited sexually. Just because I was going through some personal growth does not mean that I was putting my business out there. I didn't even have these means back in the days. Do you see what the danger in this, with somebody else using your image the way that they want to use it, as if you are their opponent? It's the work of the devil. I am my Father's daughter. I am made the way He made me. I speak the way He allows me. I ask my Papa, please put words in my mouth. Please clean my mouth, clean my thoughts, clean me. But I also ask my Father, there's a term in Spanish that when you are, kind of ahuevada, yo le pido al Padre que me desahueve. Papa, desahuevéame. Take away from me all this, just, I want to say it like it is. I want to say it like it is. I will tell you, I don't have a beautiful body, but I have the right ratio. I'm not out here to be nude, posing nude for you. I'm here to do my job. I like to wear my boots and my jeans and my banana clip. Thank you.